What's up, movie viewers? Dena Views and Reviews here. Once again, asking, what are you watching? Well, today I am watching Firestarter. Firestarter is one of the movies that I included in my recommendation and suggestion for movies to watch that were to be released in 2022. This movie stars Zac Efron as Andy McGee, Ryan Kiera Armstrong as Charlie McGee, or the Firestarter herself, Sydney Lemon as Vicky McGee, and Charlie's mom. Kurtwood Smith and John Beasley also starred in this movie. And this film is directed by Keith Thomas. As many may or may not know, Firestarter is a remake, and it deals with a couple who has an 11-year-old daughter by the name of Charlie, who is able to harness fire. It's like a pyrokinesis. She can make things catch fire when she gets upset or angry. The problem is she has not learned how to control it. Her use of this gift, if you want to call it a gift, is tied to her emotions that she has absolutely no control over. And she's an 11-year-old, so you know what comes with being that age. And because she cannot control them, it leads to a lot of uncontrolled fires and mishaps. Now, her parents, Charlie's parents, of course, themselves in their youth were a part of a medical experiment. And in this experiment, they were injected with a chemical that caused them to have telepathic abilities as well. So they are trying to hide her from being exposed to what they were exposed to. So in their effort to give Charlie a normal upbringing, of course, it means that they are running from the government or the agencies that also use them as scientific experiments. So to do so, keep her hidden, they are not using any form of social media, the internet or cell phones, any technology that would make them become aware, other people aware of where they are, or you leave a footprint no matter what kind of technology you use. So they're trying to stay off this radar. Because they do not want their daughter, Charlie, to be put in a lab and studied or treated like a lab rat or used for scientific purposes. They're trying to be very careful not to be found. But Charlie has not been able, she's not been allowed to use or encouraged to use her abilities in order to control it. So this is causing her a lot of anxiety. And of course, because she's in school, she's exposed to a lot of other children or people that may contribute to her being emotional. In one particular incident, she completely loses it at school and she gets angry due to her emotional reaction to a classmate that is bullying her. She tries to calm herself but can't, and as a result she causes a huge explosion in the bathroom, and it gets the attention of local authorities as well as these people who are trying to locate them. This immediately puts her and her family back on the radar. It sets off a chain of events where it leads to this mysterious murderous operative with telepathic abilities as well, who was also a part of this experiment. He is hired and has been given the task of finding the McGee family and returning Charlie back to the agency. His job is to seize and return Charlie. So the father and Charlie goes on the run after the mother is murdered by this operative. As I said before, Firestarter is of course a remake of the 1984 Stephen King movie by the same name. It had the same plot. It starred a very young Drew Barrymore as Charlie McGee, David Keith as Andrew McGee, and Heather Locklear as Charlie's mother. Now this movie is of course rated R, and it really should be rated R. Now I went to see this movie at the theater with my sisters, and we were familiar with the original Firestarter, as I've said before, and this one was vastly different. Now, one thing I noticed about this movie that I truly didn't like was the fact that it was dark. It was always dark, and I mean not just in a dark movie kind of thing. The settings were dark, and to me it took away from the movie. I guess they was trying to imply or make it more horrific or scary. But even when they were in school, when they would show the scene of them on the basketball court, it's dark. When they would walk in the house, I'm like, who doesn't cut on lights? It's the middle of the night, you're going into your house. It was so dark, and I really didn't like that. I felt like it took away from the movie. And one thing, of course, the storyline was, even though the theme was the same, the storyline was vastly different from the original, because the first one, I was able to connect more with the characters, but in this particular one, it wasn't so. I mean, I think the girl looked like she was a little bit older than the original character was, and my sister kept emphasizing that she's too old for this role. That's the fun of watching movies with others. Now, me myself, I'm gonna give this movie, I'm gonna have to give it a 1. Only because it didn't grab me as the other movie did. I kind of found this to be more murderous, even though there are scenes in the original where Charlie would injure people. Charlie was always so sympathetic and compassionate, but this character, to me, she didn't embody that same feeling. I didn't get the same feeling of sorrow from her for the pain that she caused. I didn't feel it with this movie. I didn't think they did enough with the storyline. That's just my personal opinion, of course. But and my sister expressed the same thing. It was just too much murder for me. And I know she's just a character, but in my mind, she just came across as a little evil. It wasn't the same compassion I felt for Drew Barrymore in the first one. Of course, the original is often better than the remake anyway. But this movie, it just, not only was it dark scene-wise, it just took you to a dark place. I just didn't see or feel a sense of loss within the characters, the father and Charlie. They weren't grieving much, and I found that to be a little odd. And because you just lost your mother, someone murdered your mother and you left, and I know you got to save her, but I didn't see the grieving process as it would have been if you lost your mother. So this movie, it just wasn't the hype that I got from the first one, and the sympathy. Like I said, I really felt sorry for poor Charlie in the first one, but I kind of got the feeling that this little girl in this one, she liked it. And when she burned up the cat, I didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or what. So I wasn't really feeling this movie. I think the intention was good, but it didn't fulfill what you were expecting it to do. You didn't feel like it didn't accomplish what the first movie did. So I give this movie a 1. I think I'll give it a 1.5 star, only because it was a little bit different from the first one. But in the ending left you with more questions. I didn't like the ending at all. And the one thing me and my sister was saying, is that murdering guy her father? Were they not actually her parents? It just left us with questioning what was his role, and why did she leave him alive and she know that he actually murdered her mother. So I have to give this movie a 1.5 star. I'm gonna give it 1.5 because it was, it kept you waiting to see how it was going to end, but it didn't give you the same feeling that you had from the first one, and which, like I said, remakes often do. But if you would like to watch this movie, you can, because Firestarter is also playing at the movies and it is being shown on Peacock. Now, this has been Dena Views and Reviews, inviting you to like, share, and comment. And be sure to join me next time for my analysis and review. And most of all, I want you to remember, it's my view. Now, what you watching?